Welcome to episode number 25. I'm your host, Sebastian ENGSTROM, and today, Oscar Nevermann joins us from Sweden. He is the second highest ranked CrossFit athlete in Sweden. He rose the ranks super quick. He is just an athletic freak. We go through his journey, his past of playing American football, as well as everything athletics, nutrition, sleeping habits, just how he approaches his life and his training. It's a very interesting and fascinating episode, and I'd like you and urge you, check out, if you're trying to get better at your training mindset, check out the gymnastics programming that we have, as well as Zeus Modern Athlete, a variety of methodical, you can say CrossFit, strength, calisthenics, gymnastics, and Olympic weightlifting, and the mindset on top of that too. You can find that in the show notes. Enjoy the episode. Oscar Nevermann, it's a sincere pleasure to have you on the podcast. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. We have a crazy amount in common. The way I found you was that I was looking at the CrossFit Open leaderboard, and I believe you were second after a multitude of sports in your entire career. And this is the first question out of the gate. How the hell did you end up in CrossFit second place when you were a professional football player?
So
in Sweden, I should say.
I've been training in Sweden. I've been training my entire life, and especially when I went to college, there was a lot of barbell movements. Gymnastics was not as easy to pick up. Double unders probably took the longest, but I had the foundation, and I know how to train. And even if I still don't know anything about CrossFit, really, I know how to train energy systems, and I know how to train skills, and I know how to break down movement patterns. So it came quite naturally to me, actually. I've had a lot of people be a little jealous, maybe, and throw that in my face, but it's not that I haven't trained CrossFit. I've been training because CrossFit made it perfectly. They define anything you do in the gym as CrossFit. So I have been doing CrossFit my entire life. I just haven't called it CrossFit. I've been doing sled work. I've been doing power cleans, snatches, back squats, deadlifts, like all of it.
Yeah.
So I might have climbed up on the leaderboard very quickly after doing like a year of CrossFit, but I have been doing CrossFit since I was 14 years old. If you're going to use their definition of CrossFit.
Yes. Speaking to a fellow strength and conditioning lover myself, yes, CrossFit, it can be defined in many ways. I jumped the gun a little bit of the question before, as there are so many aspects of you, and you're going into that as well. How would you describe yourself? Who are you, Oscar?
I am a perfectionist. I love to get as much done during my day as possible. Now I'm starting to become a health nut as well. I want to wake up every day feeling my absolute best, and I want to go to bed every night feeling like I got something out of the day. And that's one of those things that these philosophers used to say, and you would always be like, all right, whatever, like, cool for you. But it really makes a difference in your life. I mean, after I started changing my sleep, I just spoke to you before we started recording this. I make sure I wake up the same time every day, and I go to bed at the same time every day, with a fluctuation of an hour or two, just because there's a social life to it as well. I can't, if my friends are over on a Friday night, I'm going to be up a little bit later. But it makes the world difference. I never would have guessed that I could feel as good as I do feel now every day.
What happened in your life that made that shift occur?
Education. First of all, just picking up on stuff at school. I mean, no one talks about sleep in school, for example, if we're going to stay on the sleep subject.
Sure.
But then I started reading books when I finished college, because I didn't have much to do because I was playing football in Germany. So I started reading a lot of health books, especially like self-help. And it was...
What are some of those just that come to mind? What are some of those health books? or
Matthew
self-help?
Walker
Hmm.
is the sleep expert that I've been reading books of. I've read 4 or 5: Sleepiness, Time to Sleep. I've been reading nutrition books. So that one's in sweet. It was translated to Swedish, so I don't know if it's going to make much help trying to say it was a myth about food. And I am very one thing that I can really thank my education for is I know how to sense bullshit at a little bit higher level, I think, because
Uh-huh.
I have the foundational tools. They never taught us anything at a very high level in college, but they did teach us how to read scientific articles. So as soon as I find something that it doesn't make sense in my head, I will go on PubMed and double check it every single time.
Yeah.
And if it's been proven in the literature, then I'm all right, cool. I'm going to change my mindset. But if it doesn't, I'm going to keep questioning it until it either does get accepted or denied by the literature.
Yeah.
So I guess because there are so many books out there on sleep, there's so many books that are out there on nutrition or exercise. It's 5-minute abs here. These are the 7 foods you should never eat, and I'm like, no, that's obviously not what we're going for here.
Sure.
But when you start double checking these authors, it can be very rewarding.
So, yeah, when you say staying on this topic, you have a very specific way of going about your day. You want to feel accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
What are key things in your day? You seem to be, as you're saying, perfectionist, meticulous about how you go about things. What are musts in your day, or what are things that you're looking to check off? I'm very similar, type A in that way, so I'm very curious about what that's important to you.
So every day starts with school now because I'm
Mhm.
in the doctorate program for physical therapy. And there is a lot of school there. So I get up every morning. I usually fast in the morning too. So I just brush my teeth, get in my car, go to school, and then it's basically school until about 4 p.m.
Is there any morning
Dep-
routine more than that? Okay, simple. All
I
right.
I don't plan. I am very okay with however the day goes.
Okay.
So I usually bring some food with me to school, but if I didn't have time to make food that day, that's okay. Like I just won't eat then until later in the day. It's very live in the now, acceptance. It's
Sure.
however you want to say it. But I do make sure that after each day of school, I know every single piece of material that we covered
Oh, wow.
during that day, because I know that I don't have time. If I don't get it the first or second time, I will not have time to do the other stuff with
Uh-huh.
my day that I want to do.
Yeah.
So I do not leave school until that is covered. So I organize notes, I double check so that I understand everything. There's a lot of memorization, so I do a lot of memory palace kind of
Mhm.
techniques. And then I go to work out. I go straight to the gym every day. Um, Stay there for about 2.5 to 3 hours. And then either I go and donate plasma because international student life means you can't work in the
Mm.
States, but donating plasma you can do
Every
for a
day?
little profit. No, you can do that twice a week.
Okay. All right.
So I go
Like,
straight
whoa.
to the no, no. And I understand. I also understand that is detrimental to your health, but
Mm.
at the same time, you can't live a perfectly healthy life. Like
Uh,
there's always going to be ups and downs. So I go straight to that, and then I usually come home around 9 p.m. I eat dinner, and then I go to bed. That's my weekday, every weekday.
okay. At 9 p.m. you eat. So
When I come home, so
yeah.
yes, so either around 7:30 to 8, or if it's one of these donating plasma days,
Yeah.
it will be 9 p.m. Yeah,
So let's jump into your eating. What do you eat during a day?
whatever I want. I have nothing I do eat. I have nothing I don't eat. I love food.
uh,
I will be what people consider a foodie.
mhm.
If you want to have a perfect, if you want to give me a perfect day, you're going to tell me that we're going to go to this fancy restaurant. We're just going to sit down. We're going to eat and chat for 3 hours. That's a perfect day for me.
Okay.
Um, But so I bring overnight oats to school most days,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I just put some chia seeds in there, peanut butter, um, almonds, and then I eat it with a banana. So that's
Hmm.
my lunch. I realized that first of all, it's very economical
Hmm.
and it tastes amazing and it's
Yeah.
simple. I can do that on my 10-minute breaks between classes.
Huh.
So I that's what I eat for lunch if I bring anything to school.
And it's a big
Um,
portion, so it's what, several thousand calories or?
it's a fair, yeah, I did calculate it once. It's about 13 to 1400 calories. I bring
Okay.
apples too now because it's apple season and I live in Minnesota and they have the best apples in the world. So that's pretty
Uh,
cool. But that's what I eat during the day. I usually bring a protein, like a bottle with protein in it, if
mhm.
I would need it. If I feel like just I need a little kick at the during my um, when I'm studying after
Mhm.
school, but I rarely use it.
Is there a
So
preference of
that's
what kind of protein you use? Like, is yeah.
so me and my wife had this discussion lately. So
Uh-huh.
if you look at the literature, it doesn't freaking matter what protein you get. You should just get protein. There's no benefits of getting the really expensive protein versus the super cheap stuff you can find at Walmart.
Hmm.
But there are differences in how your gut can break it down. So
Yes.
you can feel better with the nice protein, and you can feel worse on the cheap protein. Me, my entire life, cheap protein. I don't care. I don't feel any rumbling in my stomach ever. And then when I moved here, my wife has been here for a year and a half. We've been living separately because of COVID. When I moved here, she had a tub that she wasn't using, so I tried it. And oh my God, there is a huge difference. But I can't tell her that now because now we've been like, no, baby, I don't care. I don't care if I eat cheap or the expensive stuff. But now I'm in this huge dilemma. Do I keep eating the shitty protein and feel like shit because I didn't understand that I felt like shit until I tried the other one?
Hmm.
Or do I suck it up and tell her that she was right?
Yep. You suck it up, man.
Yeah,
If
right.
you want a lasting relationship, you'll find out one way or another. But yes, I've okay. So what is it? Is it plant based or is it casein? What are we talking here? Meat based?
Honestly, I haven't even looked at it. I know it's meat based. It's Formula One by True Form,
Mm-hmm.
but I honestly haven't even looked at it because, as I said before, like I at least and this stuff can change. Whatever
Mm-hmm.
I say here, if anyone knows anything differently, let me know because I'm not saying that what I know is true. I'm just saying that when I looked it up, it's what it's true.
Mm-hmm.
So when I looked it up, it doesn't matter. All you need is protein. I mean, if there's some creatine in there, great, but I supplement with creatine on the side, so I'm not worried about that. So if it says protein on it, I'm all for it.
I
So that's all I know.
yeah.
There's protein in it.
Short side note, I've tried the cheap road and exactly what you're telling me right now. That's exactly what I used to do. From how do I get the most amount of, you can say, positive calories in me for the cheapest amount of money? And cheap protein was part of it. It was oatmeal. It was mixed with peanut butter, mixed with chocolate protein, mixed with berries and and pretty much and whole fat milk. That was my breakfast every single day. Every day. It was amazing. It is economical and it's cheap and there's a lot of calories and it's yeah. But then I realized over the years now I ate a very specific diet, almost carnivore-ish, but AIP paleo style. But I realized what you're saying because I didn't realize I felt like shit a majority of the times because I was slow. I was in my mood was up and down. I'm like, oh, this is just my regular state. But I've
Mm-hmm.
yes, there's a lot of literature out there. We could probably go into this topic for longer, but to stay on the question. So what does dinner look like for you?
I'm very fortunate right now. So for the people who don't know, the housing market is a mess in the States, and everything is going within hours of being put on the market. So me and my wife are currently looking for a house, but we're not in a rush because we are fortunate enough to live with her parents. So they actually cook for me. because they're having dinner anyway, and they just add a little bit
Sure.
more, and then I come home later, and then I don't even have time to cook right now. So there's a lot of steaks, which I enjoy a lot. They like pizza and hamburgers because they're American. Sorry, but and maybe I understand that those are not as good for me, but I'm not a picky eater.
Hmm.
And when I get home of the day, at the end of the day, I'm looking forward to a tasty meal more than a nutritionist meal,
Sure.
which is a problem I have because I'm a foodie, and I understand that. But it, and also I'm trying to make up for the calories that I didn't eat during the day because I make sure I don't have time to eat it during the day.
Yeah.
So it's a huge meal, and I know it's too close to bedtime because you're not supposed to eat within 3 hours of going to bed. But yet again, that's the luxury I don't have. Um, but there's a lot of meat for sure. Americans definitely do what the rest of the world tell them that they're doing. They eat a lot of meat.
So I recently read it was an entire concept, call it a fad diet, whatever, but he completely flipped it and said only eat after 7 p.m. That's it. So eating and that's
Huh.
it, because and his whole concept was based off of do intermittent fasting, just eat whatever you can between 7 p.m. and by the time you go to bed, and you'll be good. And then he had a bunch of amazing recipes, and more or less he was saying it's a bunch of BS that you will get inflamed, you don't metabolize your food well and so forth during the nighttime. But interesting concept. It's more going back to your philosophy is like, all right, what makes you feel well, and am I doing well off it? Is my performance peak? Am I doing well? Hey,
Yeah.
let's just keep doing it. um Going into your training, 2 to 3 hours, how do you structure that?
Um, well, since I studied exercise science in college, I do feel like I should use it in somehow my degree, right?
Uh-huh.
So I do half my program myself, and then I'm actually looking at different programs. I've been looking at the big CrossFitting programs and seeing what they do because me and a friend of mine who was also an exercise science degree, we're actually going to drop our own programming very soon now.
Nice.
Yeah, so we don't like how most of the programs that are out right now is you either pay $400 a month and we will customize it for you, or you pay $50 a month and you just do what everyone else is doing. We don't think that you should have to choose. So
Mm-hmm.
we're actually coming up with a structured system of how do you we're going to test you to show your strengths and weaknesses, and then we're going to rank you, and then we're going to put in your strengths and weaknesses. So it's going to be like a half based, like a standard fundamental program, and the other half is going to be customized for you. But it's going to be cheap because of how we're putting the algorithms right now. So it's pretty cool. So if you and me would work out together, we would go to the gym together, and then we would do the back squats and the clean technique together. But then all of a sudden you have handstand push-ups and I have more snatches maybe.
Hmm.
So it's, and when then we have a WOD and it's like a 21-15-9 of wall balls and our weakest movement.
Hmm.
So for you, that might be handstand push-ups once again, and that for me, it might be snatches. So we can still go toe to toe, because what I've realized is you need people to work out with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I was back in Sweden, I was working out with my brother and a couple of other people just that ended up picking up on us working out, and they weren't up to my caliber. Obviously, they haven't done it for that long, but I could push myself just as hard by just having them next to me doing the same thing as me.
Hmm.
And now when I'm here in the States, I haven't really found anyone that is willing to train next to me. Not with, I don't care if you can do the same weights. I don't care if you can go as fast. I just care about you standing next to me because I need friends. We
Hmm.
all need friends. So,
Wisdom.
and I realized that like you want people to be able to train with you, but you also want to do that stuff that's the best for you.
Mhm.
And that's what we're trying to do. So we're working really hard on it. We it's still in prototype. because we don't want to drop it before we think it's perfect. But keep your eyes open because it's going to be pretty cool, I think.
When you say algorithm, are we talking how is that going to work?
So it's going to be based off of the first week of the program. You're just going to get tests. We're going to test your strength, your glycolytic system, your ATPCR, like all your energy systems. We're also going to test your movements, your skills, and we're going to put you in tiers: green, yellow, red. Say it's going to be green, yellow, or red. Depending on that, we're going to throw a randomized. So your red stuff is what you should be working the most on, because that's where you can see the most improvement.
Sure.
And even if my clean is the best, and I love doing cleans, I should not be doing cleans because that's not where I can see my numbers climb up the
Sure.
most.
Yep.
So out of the red stuff, that's what's going to come up most. Yellow stuff is going to come up immediate, and green stuff is probably stuff we're going to put on because there's too many movements and there's too much skill, and so that's how it's going to work. And then it's going to be basically, because CrossFit is still randomized, so you won't know what's coming up. We won't even know what's coming up because it's a computer who calculates when the stuff should be there. And then we have these pre-built-in WODs or strength exercises or EMOMs or AMRAPs or whatever. And then it just puts in, oh, that's the movement you should be doing. Because how do you get better at handstand push-ups? The simplest way. How do you get better at handstand push-ups?
Do them.
Sure, you do them. You just do them. And absolutely, you can work on technique, but that's what the other people are already doing. They're like, hey, get our gymnastics course. We're going to help you with the movement patterns. But if there's one thing I've learned, if you don't have a coach in the room with you, you're not learning shit. After a movement, you have about 1.8 seconds to tell that athlete what they did wrong and how to change it before you lose all credibility of them being able to change that. That's why it's so important to be watching and be like, no, elbows weren't high enough, push your elbows up. And you can't do that online. So we're not even going to try to do that online because we want to be evidence-based.
So this is your own app, or you'll be utilizing someone else's app and drop the program there?
So we want to use our own app.
Okay.
But we're not really there yet. We want to build the clientele first to make sure that this is what people want. Because at the end of the day, unfortunately, in a consumer capitalistic system, it's all about what the people want. It's not what you can give them.
That's
but
for sure.
we want to try and give them what they want, because this is what I want. This is what my friend wants. This is what I believe, talking to all the athletes that I have been working with, the people that go really hard, they're so sad that no one wants to work out with them because they're following their own program. And the people who are not going as hard, they wish they would get better at the stuff they're weak at, but they do have friends to work out with. So why not combine those two?
Sure.
So we do want to use our own app, but we're probably going to use a platform to drop it first.
Sure.
But that's when the algorithms come into play, that we're still working on the app, but it's not ready yet.
Yeah. So going back to your own training, what does that look like? 5, 6, 7 days? What do off days look like? How do you structure it? Do you have any specific split?
So it's kind of funny because I've been having a lot of discussions about this. Who chose Thursdays and Sundays to be off?
I hate
for
that.
CrossFit. It doesn't make sense to me. I do not want to work out on a Friday afternoon. And I believe it might stem from Mayhem. I'm not sure, but I know that they're very religious at Mayhem, and Sunday should then obviously be off. And then Thursday just ends up being good because it should be a 3-2 split.
So we're talking CrossFit Mayhem, right?
Yes, CrossFit Mayhem.
Yep.
And I mean, if they did it and everyone else follows them, I'm sure, absolutely, yeah. But I tried to shift that so I would be off on Tuesdays and Fridays instead. Because Saturdays, Sundays, I kind of have to catch up on my training because I'm not getting enough during the week. That being said, that's very hard because now you got to start incorporating so many more aspects, since I'm following this program. I'm always following like a program that you pay for, like a prepaid program, because I want to get scores that I can beat. I want to get the structure that like just ideas of WODs, you know. I'm still new to CrossFit. I still have so much to learn. And there's some really good programs out there, and there's some really bad. And there's some that are really good for like 2 months and then go down, because I can still look at it with a critical eye, because I do have that knowledge from both school and being a professional athlete.
Sure.
So that was a little sidetrack. Sorry. What were we talking about?
No, it's perfect. Your structure.
My training. Yeah. So I go 5 days a week at least. And then if I, depending on the feel, I can go a 6th day. But I love sports, and I will never ever turn down sports, because CrossFit is fun and all, but it's not playing sand volleyball with your friends on a Saturday. And it's not. I have a soccer game today. One of my friends called me. They have a soccer league and they need a player, so I'm definitely going to do that. Pick up basketball is something I will never play because I suck at basketball. But but spike ball, all these, like that's, so I will always prioritize that. If I'm heading to the gym and I get a text that there's a volleyball game, I will go to that instead.
Nice.
So because I do believe that I work out to be healthy and to be able to play those sports. So why not play those sports? Because that's when I have the most enjoyment.
Yeah.
So it's probably five days a week of 2.5 to 3 hours, plus maybe 2 or 3 days of sports.
Okay, that's amazing. That damn connection that you get in college. I mean, I remember that too. I love basketball, so that would be my go-to, but soccer too. That's and I don't play it, and that's the biggest outlet I get of creativity and just spontaneity and connection to other human beings. It's amazing. So I definitely hear you. Let's before we go into that, what type of program do you follow right now? Is there one that you subscribe to?
Yes, I subscribe to Prepared program.
You do. Okay.
Yeah, and I have to say, so I was home in Sweden about a month ago, and I did a competition with Oscar Gillestrom. He's a former American football player, just like us, in Västerås. And he shifted to Olympic weightlifting, and he is a phenomenal Olympic weightlifter. But he helps out with Prepared programming. I'm not 100% sure what he does, but he's in all the videos, and he follows it as well, and he promotes it on social media. So I believe he has a substantial role there. So he's the one who made me like look into it and try it. And like, I had just finished my evaluation of CompTrain, because they're unfortunately the program that went up and was really good, and then it sunk down again. And so I felt like I was done with that one, and the next one's Prepared. And Prepared actually does look very good. It does. I will say that they have some things that they can get better at, and they also have some aspects that they're not even trying to address, because that's not what they want. And that doesn't make them a bad program. That just makes them a different program. And these are the aspects that kind of me and my friend want to address in our programming instead.
Sure.
But they're absolutely the most fundamental one I've followed so far. I have to say, they're really good.
There is at the CrossFit gym that I go to, that is the program that most athletes follow, that do their own workouts. There's one guy who does comp training as well. I am curious. One thing that I've never seen, as this is what I do for a profession too, is I do programming, is I don't see the progression, which I get a feel for that you definitely have based on your background of. There's not randomized workouts. Every week is different. Like, for example, Marcus Philly, amazing guy, genius when it comes to exercise, movement, science, and so forth. I've done his programming. The continuity is not necessarily there. It's different exercises almost every single week, and they kind of build off each other. But me being you can say a dedicated hardcore strength enthusiast, I want to see the same exercise for at least 3 weeks so I know my progression every single week. Matt Frazier pointed that out. Matt Frazier, when he left the game, and now he's doing his own program, and he sells that through hybrid strength, I believe, or hybrid performance. That is a big point that he keeps on, just like, hey, this is all bullshit what all CrossFitters are doing. It's all randomized. There's no progression. As he is Olympic weightlifter. That's who he is. And then he fell in love with CrossFit. You do my stuff, you'll see the incremental progression. You'll see that there is things that you'll see every single week, and that you can get better at it with slight variations. And of course, there will be the randomized workouts as well. Have you, I mean, I assume first you do this. That's one question. If so, how do you do this? And let me leave it at that.
Okay. Well, that's where what I realized that my programming comes in. That's why I do the other half myself.
I figured,
because I don't see it.
Right.
Yeah. So CrossFit is this amazing thing. I mean, they make it fun to work out, and people love to do new things and try different exercises, and they hate seeing the same structure again, you know. But that's kind of what we understand that you need. So I think that's kind of what I got back to when I said we have to check if this is what people want.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my friend, before we launch our own app, because people don't necessarily like seeing the same exercises every day for 3 weeks in a row.
How the hell do you get better?
That's boring.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that because that's boring. I mean,
True.
I even
I
catch myself looking at programs to be like, ooh, that looks fun. Or not looking forward to the next Thursday because it was really heavy lunges, and I don't want to do heavy lunges next week again.
Right.
But that's where my primitive brain has to be overridden by my knowledge brain, where we can't let you do that. We can't let you have fun in the gym only, but also you have to enjoy it, which is why it's half and half. And that's, yeah. So the other half, the program that I make myself, it's boring, and that's the part that sucks. But that's the part you need to get better.
Sure.
Yeah. So everything, I have been doing this half and half for about a year now, but then I missed the semifinals with the major penalty that I got. So now I just wrote a full macro, a full year of my own programming. So I have 4 microcycles, and I'm in the second one right now because I was really, there's a lot of spite not making it to the semifinals this last season.
Sure. And for the people, and now we'll go back to your past and then going into the future. So the way you found CrossFit, well, you've gone into it a little bit, but what is your past as an athlete? Who were you before?
Okay. So how long do you want me to go back? I mean,
All the way.
All the way.
And even before, and weave in, please, like why is there such immense drive to get better? Because you're at a pretty high level, and you've been playing at a high level.
I had a lot of energy as a kid, and I do believe that there was a short period in elementary school where I didn't have a lot of friends, and sports was a way to get friends. So I would play sports to get recognition, and I then doing good, because we all know who the most popular guy on the team is. It's the best player. If that best player is also a nice guy. And that's something that, because if the best player is a jerk, he's not going to be the most popular. But if the best player can also lift up other players, that's when you really, first of all, that's when the team does the best. And secondly, that's when you can really connect with people. So I started playing floorball when I was like 5 years old. And I played that for like 10 years. I played a lot of floorball as a kid. I was never really great, but I realized this later in my life. The kids that I would always play with 1 year older kids because I started school 1 year early. So everyone was 1 year older than me, but they were also really good athletes. Looking back at these athletes that I was playing sports with in elementary school, they all turned out to be professional athletes.
Oh, wow.
And so it's like it was just a very small, unique sample size of me thinking that, oh, I was probably okay at floorball, but I wasn't great. But then when I played floorball with other people that also played floorball their entire life, then it's like, oh, okay, there is a difference here. So it kind of kept my ego down, which was probably great. But so I played floorball, I played soccer,
For those who don't know, really quick, floorball, I've heard it called Swiffer ball too. There are a lot of Americans who don't know what this is. What is floorball?
So it's like land hockey with a wiffle ball. So it has the exact same size as a hockey rink, but it's on floor. It has 5-on-5, still the same size goals, maybe a little different, but then you play with a wiffle ball and a plastic stick instead.
Yep.
And it's what everyone plays in Sweden. It's a Northern European sport.
Right.
So we are very proud of winning the world championship, but we shouldn't be because there's like 4 other countries in it.
Yes.
So I played that. I started playing soccer. I played volleyball. I golfed a lot. I played table tennis. I was really serious about table tennis for a while. We had a former world champion that would train me, but I was still young, and like, how good can you get at table tennis when you're 12 years old? Golf I really enjoyed. Volleyball was great, but yet again, I'm not that tall. I'm 6 feet, which is above average, but it's not close to what you need to be as a volleyball player.
Mm-hmm.
But then around 13, 14 is when my brother started playing American football. And I mean, I want to try everything my big brother wants to do because I look up to him. So
sure.
I tried it as well. And this is when I started to realize that this was probably like what I was built to do. Because I was always a very strong and like big kid, as in like, I wasn't necessarily chunky or anything, but I was just farm strong, if you would say so.
Yeah.
Before I started training in the gym. So 14, 13, started playing football. And also, just a side note, none of the athletes in Sweden go out for football because everyone plays soccer or hockey.
Yes.
So there was also a difference there.
Yeah.
I went from playing floorball with the best athletes in Stockholm to playing American football with the less athletic people of Stockholm. And my team was still really good, but when we played in our games, it was not as challenging as it should have been. So that's when I dropped everything and just went full on football. And I made probably the best friends of my life playing football, and played out through entire high school career, won the national championship twice, played with the senior team, and then I ended up getting on the national team and then the world team. So I went down to Texas twice to play there. And that's when no offers or anything came in, but I started looking into college because I really wanted to go to college. I wanted to see how far I could take it.
Yep.
And mind you, I still hadn't really I'd never played against Americans, so I didn't know how good they could be.
Yep.
But I was also kicking butt in Europe, which was fun for me. So I was like, oh, how much better can they be? I had the very fortunate situation where a guy who played with me in Stockholm, or in Arlanda Jets was my team. He became a coach at Wyoming. And he had seen that I had some potential. So he's the one who brought me over, actually. For anyone out there that wants to go to college from Europe, if you are good enough, they're going to find you. If not, you need to know someone. And it's okay to get in because you know someone. Because after that, you can just show them that you're good enough. Yep. It's fine. But don't sit around waiting for someone to pick you up, because if you are good enough, they already have their eyes on you. there's too much money in the sport. They can't not see you. So that's just a side note, because I might have been waiting a little bit too long. But then Wyoming was perfect. It was a big school, 30,000 people in the stands. The most professional team in the state, because they don't have an NFL team, and it was wonderful. It was very cold. It was probably negative 30 when I got there,
Holy
and it's
shit.
windy, and the elevation is 7,220. So like it's for the Swedish people who are listening to this, that's higher than Kebnekaise. So it was a change, and we're talking Wyoming. We're talking the most red state ever, and not getting into politics, but there's a lot of differences between Wyoming and Sweden when it comes to political issues. So that was a big change, but it was fun. It was so much fun. I played there for 2 years, but then after the coaching change, and just so when you switch coaches in college, the first thing the coach will do is bring their system into your team. So we were a speed team my first year. We threw the ball a lot. We had the second fastest offense in the nation after Oregon, because we were trying to play on our condition that should have been better because we were at a higher altitude. The guy who came in, Craig Bull, phenomenal coach, but he's a power guy. He wants to run the ball down the opponent's throat. So the first thing the coach does is they basically bully everyone who doesn't fit the description of their new offense or defense until they quit. Wow. Because if they cut you, they lose the scholarship. And it's all numbers. But if they bully you to quit, then they get that scholarship to give to another player.
That's fucked up. Excuse my language.
It's money. That's what it is at the end of it. It's money and numbers. So fortunately for me, I was in their new tier. I'm a bigger guy. I was a running back for a while, and then they switched me to linebacker, and they were fairly happy with the potential I had. Not with what I was doing. I don't want to say that, but they were happy with my potential. But seeing my friends get bullied, and now we're not talking like, oh, you're never going to play here. They would call them names. They would spit towards them. I actually saw one coach hitting a player. It's heartbreaking. So it kind of killed my love for the game, and I decided that even they offered me a scholarship to stay, but I said it's not worth it for me. So I was fortunate enough to have my best friend play at the University of North Dakota up in Grand Forks. And he was like, yeah, we need a running back. You can come and play running, because I would prefer to play running back as well over linebacker. There's just something about running into a 336.5 guy with your head first 20 times a game that doesn't appeal to me, you know?
Yeah.
So I moved to North Dakota, and on good and bad, I mean, I would have loved to stay and finish out my career at Wyoming with my great friends that I made there. But at the same time, my absolute best friend is in North Dakota, and we had a blast in North Dakota. But unfortunately, Wyoming wouldn't sign my release papers. So I had to sit out a year, which was okay because I still had my red shirt, because I never redshirted at Wyoming. I played as a true freshman. So I sat out the first year, and I was starting the spring before I sat out, but I couldn't play, so they knew it didn't matter. But then we had these two studs come in, and they were so good. Both of them turned out to be All-American. They ran for like 15 to 2,000 yards each.
Wow.
And I'm like, if you beat me fair and square, I will never have anything against you. They were flat out better than me. They were phenomenal athletes. So that was kind of that. I still played, but I got injured right away. I lost my third season, and then my fourth season was just like, I'm just gonna finish it. That's all I want to do. So I turned into a linebacker again, because that would help the team more. And I played some, but I definitely did not have the college career that I expected.
Hmm.
But I also learned so much more about both my life and education that I never expected. So it was definitely a good trade-off.
What are some of
So
those
that was
highlights?
football. Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
yeah.
You said,
Highlights.
yeah, highlights in the way of like, what are those lessons that you did learn?
How to take care of yourself, both physically and mentally, without anyone caring of how well you do.
Mm.
Like no support. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, my mom obviously called me 5 times a week, making sure I ate. But what is she gonna do when she's 3,000 miles away?
Sure.
Um, that was a big one for me. Um, taking care of your own shit was another one. Just like, I kind of ties into the first one, I guess, but like, no one truly does care how well you do.
Right.
They just want you to benefit them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you especially see in college football. Unfortunately, we had coaches sit in our meeting room calling people out, watching film, and be like, I'm trying to feed my kids, and you're making it impossible to feed my kids with this performance. And it's like you're putting that on a 19-year-old college kid that you know is trying the best he can.
Right.
How dare you, as a 40-year-old man, do that?
Mm-hmm.
So seeing that, but also feeling that professional life. We're flying private to every game. We're staying in these nice ass hotels. We have everything from trainers to GAs to coaches to we had a what do you call it? We had a priest travel with us
Hmm.
because you have to make sure that God is on your side before you enter that field.
Of course.
Yeah, it was so professional, and it was such a cool experience from that aspect. But then obviously it's the ugly side to it as well. And what's really funny to me is my friends that ended up going to the NFL, it's not the same there. It's it's so much more mutual respect, and there's so much more honesty, and like, yeah, it's way different apparently from the stories I've heard, at least. So that was college football. I'm
So,
done now.
and
So yeah,
there's one question. You said some of the ugliness, so you did describe some of that at Wyoming. What was it like at North Dakota? What were some of those things that were maybe the darker things that
yeah,
we as regular people might not know?
yeah. So North Dakota was a little different because they're not the highest division. They're the second highest division. So
Mm-hmm.
there's two Division Ones in college for the people who don't know. There's FBS and there's FCS. Wyoming is in FBS, so they play for the Natty National Championship of FBS, and North Dakota is in FCS, so they play for the National Championship in the FCS subdivision. Um, so now in North Dakota is not not the easiest way to recruit people to. Wyoming could recruit people because they're a big school, they have great fans, and they're close to Denver, which is also a thing, and like they're not horribly cold. But North Dakota is the coldest place. We were the coldest place on earth, like 7 days when I was there.
Uh-huh.
During 7 days, we were the
Wow.
coldest place on earth.
Wow.
Um, and it's I'm I have my one of my best friends is North Dakotan, but he probably won't care if I say this. It's a shit country. It's just flat. You don't see anything. They always make jokes. They're like, if you can watch your dog run away for a week.
Uh,
That's how flat it is.
uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And it's a small town, and like it's just it's not as easy to recruit to. So the coaches become desperate of who they recruit and who they keep on the team.
Hmm.
I saw people at Wyoming get kicked off the team at practice.
Wow.
the,
Holy
the
shit.
coach walked up to him and said, "You didn't show up for your morning run today," which was a way to punish people, which to show up for 4 a.m. runs. You're off the team, and he had to leave the practice.
Hmm.
That's the power that Wyoming has. North Dakota doesn't have that. So when you start picking up on the head coach threatening to cut people but never doing it, people notice that they can get away with a lot more.
Yep.
So the inconsistency of North Dakota had a completely different dynamic on the team.
Mm-hmm.
So my senior year, we had 5, help me now, razzior. We had 5 police show up at your door,
Oh,
basically busted open.
yeah.
Gosh, I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. I think
Uh,
we're getting it. Yeah.
uh,
SWAT
yeah,
team members or
we had,
whatever.
yes, basically it was,
Not
honestly,
SWAT,
there
but
were
yeah,
SWAT.
it's, yeah.
No, there was SWAT,
Ransacked. Oh,
and
okay.
two of them there was actually SWAT teams that broke into our team players' apartments, houses, because they were drug dealers.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so we lost like 7 guys my
Oh,
senior year because of drugs.
wow.
And I am the first one to not judge anyone doing everything they can to make a living when that's all they know, because some
Mm-hmm.
of these people come from very rough backgrounds, and
Yep.
they don't know, even if they're going to have, even if they're on scholarship, they've never been taught how to make a budget. So we would always get paid the beginning of the semester of
Mm-hmm.
fall, and we would get
Mm-hmm.
paid for the entire fall, and then we would get paid again for the spring. But in August, everyone shows up with new tattoos,
Mm-hmm.
because all of a sudden they have $7,000-8,000 in their bank account. They've never seen that much money, and they have no idea to to think ahead and be like, oh, this needs to last me until January when I get my next paycheck. So it will be very hard for someone like that to not do the only thing they know to do to make money on the
Sure.
side, which is unfortunately selling drugs.
Mm.
And these are phenomenal people. Like I still talk to some of them, but they were never guided. They never had the luxury of being guided as kids or
Mm-hmm.
as adolescents as I did. So I just want to clear that out first. But that was the ugliness of North Dakota, that we didn't have the luxury of being hard on our rules. And there was still ugliness between the coaches. I still saw coaches fight players. I
Mm.
still saw coaches talk shit to players, but it was not at the same extent as the phase where Wyoming was trying to get rid of the players that didn't fit their description of their offense and defense.
So with I've heard a few stories about this left and right, that especially in big schools, and I'm curious about Wyoming too. Like sometimes these players get away with pretty much anything. Like they don't even go to class. I've heard some even big names out there in the NFL can't even read. Like I don't know if you've
Mm-hmm.
experienced anything to that degree, that it was just like, hey, you're here to play football. We'll take care. Maybe that's taking it too far, but share whatever you feel comfortable with sharing. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I can, yeah. So I can tell you a story in Wyoming. So they are very serious. They make sure you go to class. They would have people come class check.
Hmm.
They make sure that you have, at Wyoming we have to sit in the front row. So even if it's like a lecture of 200 people and you have to be there 20 minutes early to get the front row, you have to sit in the front row.
Hmm.
And if you don't, that's the missed class
Hmm.
basically.
Hmm. Hmm.
So these GAs, graduate assistants, the people that are, in lack of better terms, they do the bitch work of the coaches to then one day become coaches,
Hmm.
and they're also in graduate school at the same time. They would class check at Wyoming, so they're very hard on making people do what's necessary for the class. That being said, if class is what's stopping them from doing playing football, it will be taken care of.
Hmm.
So I had my roommate was in a geography class my sophomore year of college, and there were 5 football guys in that class, and no one could stay awake during it. So everyone was basically failing it, and the coaches were getting on them. They started running in the mornings because, as punishment, they started sitting in on the class. But when they realized that they also were falling asleep in that class because that teacher just wasn't maybe that passionate about the teaching,
uh,
all of a sudden everyone gets a passing grade, and that professor gets post game access to our locker room
okay. All right.
for the entire season.
Okay then. So
So yeah, there are ways to get around it.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
were also granted tutors. We were granted unlimited tutoring hours, and we had people set up our schedules at Wyoming. And like, if you were even close, they like if you walked through the study hall that's dedicated for the athletes, your guy would come out of his office like, all right, you have the test on Monday and you have the quiz due tomorrow. Do you need anything? It's
Wow.
like, I have a quiz
Nice.
tomorrow. He's like, yeah, in your history class. Oh, thank you. I'll get right on that. Like these people are highly professional.
Hmm.
North Dakota, not as much because they didn't have as much leverage. At the same time, that's another thing. Wyoming, like the professors at Wyoming, they love football players because they're so proud of their football team.
Mm-hmm.
At North Dakota, it's more hockey. Hockey is the
Mm-hmm.
big
Mm-hmm.
big thing. So I'm guessing the hockey. Actually, I know that the hockey players got away with as much at North Dakota as the football players got away with at Wyoming. I had a class with Drake Kadrula. He plays in the NHL right now, and he was a
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal hockey player at North Dakota. I saw him twice the entire semester. First day of class, and conveniently enough, the day after they won the national championship.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Um,
So
I think we've thank you for sharing that. It's always
yeah.
interesting to get these personal stories. We've took a little bit of a side turn, but you were going to continue after the college football career. What
Oh yeah.
what happened then?
Sports, right?
Yes.
Yeah. After college, I decided to work for a year. So
Mm.
when you're done with school, you're granted a 1 year work visa in the United States. So I went to Minneapolis and I worked for a year at this gym called Lifetime. It's a very nice gym, very overpriced according to me, but they're like the biggest thing in fitness, I would say.
Mm.
They have everything. At the gym I worked at, they had indoor outdoor pool, a bar, a barber, uh,
Mm.
restaurant, like sushi. They had 3 basketball courts. They had over 250 treadmills, a CrossFit gym,
Hmm.
you name it, gymnastics. Like they had everything, which
Mm.
was really cool. So it was a really good experience. But then also that's when I met my wife. Funny
Mhm.
enough, playing volleyball because I
Mm.
love playing volleyball.
Mhm.
So we met. Um, at the end of that year, my visa was up, so I had to leave. But I was also getting some calls from Germany from people who wanted me to come play for them. So I figured I might as well just do that for at least a season and see how it goes. So 2019, I played for Frankfurt, then Universe, now they're Galaxy. Now they're back in the NFL Europe League. Um, and it was a lot of fun. It really was. Um, during this time, sorry, actually, right before was February 2019. I went and saw my best friend from North Dakota, who is now playing rugby professionally in Australia,
Mhm.
because that's what we like to do. We just like to travel places and play
Hmm.
professional sports. Um, and in Australia, I also did my first Open. That was my first
Mhm.
CrossFit Open. I had never done CrossFit before.
Hmm.
I didn't know how to kick. I didn't know handstand walks or handstand push-ups, especially not double unders. So I did it, and I did really well. I think I got 1300 in the world, which
Mm.
was over expected from the fact that I hadn't even trained CrossFit then. So in Germany, since we had so much time on our hands, I would also train a lot of CrossFit.
Hmm.
I would do maybe 2.5, 3 hours of CrossFit in the morning, do practice at night, and that was basically my day.
Hmm.
So, and the season is very long in Germany, and you have
Mhm.
very little to do. So I'm figured I might as well. I think I watched all seasons of Game of Thrones less than 3 weeks.
uh,
That's how much time we had on our hands.
wow.
And that's also when I started picking up reading. That's when I
Mhm.
started like continuing my education,
Mhm.
looking into the
Mhm.
things that actually do interest me, which is mostly health. How do you feel better every day? Um, went home, COVID happened. Got married right before COVID happened. Um, and then
Got married
I
where?
in Stockholm. So
Okay. Oh.
my then girlfriend, lived in Germany with me.
Oh,
Not
okay.
with me, but she followed me to Germany. And then we went to Sweden for 2 weeks. We got married there, and then she went back to the States.
Okay.
And then COVID happened. So I became a school teacher in Sweden, and actually was fortunate enough to get a really nice deal with Uppsala 86ers.
Hmm.
So I played for them during the COVID season. And I'm very sad to say that it didn't go as we wanted it because of COVID and everything, and season got postponed. And yeah, it was a horrible season, but I had so much fun playing with these people that were my best friends growing up, because they still play. And that was one of the most fun things I've ever done. Look right and left and be like, I've known this guy for 14 years, and we've been playing football for 14 years, and now we're playing together again.
Sure.
It was kind of like, it brought back the love of the game, which was very nice.
Yeah.
So I finished that, but at the same time I was still doing CrossFit, because this is when I started realizing that there's something here. Maybe this is my next step. And I always knew that I was going to have to do something when I'm done with the football, because adrenaline, staying active, and I'm sad to say, but I can't find people to play volleyball or soccer with me every day. So I got to find something to do myself. And since I'm all in or not at all, I believe that we shouldn't do anything half-assed. So I'm running with it. I'm going full out to see. So season ended 2020 in November. I had some injuries, so by like February was when I was feeling myself again. And then the Open of 2021, I did really well, even if I only had a very short period of healthy tissue to work with.
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm just going to keep building on it.
So this is, I mean, it's crazy to hear. You being the second best in Sweden, and the majority of the time you've just been focused on, hey, I want to play sports. That's what I love, and I'll work out. I'll dedicate my really dedicate myself to it. But it's a side thing, and you're second best in Sweden. So given that, and now that you're focusing your full effort on it, where do you want to take this?
I want to go to the games. That's the end goal. I don't really care of how I do that. If I'm on a team or if I'm individual. I just actually had a competition yesterday that we came second in, but I think I prefer to do teams because, as I've said before, I want someone to work out next to me.
Sure.
I want to share the win with the person who also busted their ass to win.
Sure.
But at the same time, I'm getting closer to becoming an individual caliber athlete. So I'm not too picky. Yeah. I need to find a team first of all if I want to be on a team, which is going to be hard too. But yeah, I'm currently doing the qualify for Wadapalooza individually, but I also have a team waiting for me if that wouldn't go well. So we would do the Wadapalooza with teams instead, and that one's a pretty solid team. They're games athletes, so
nice.
Yeah.
So you're doing a doctor's right now, right?
Yeah.
In physical therapy?
Physical therapy, yeah.
So you went so you're at one point in Australia, then Sweden. How did you end up in the United States? And yeah.
So I actually did take when I was home in Sweden in 2020, I was actually in the physiotherapy program at Karolinska. Which is a very nice hospital for the people who don't know, or it's an educational institution as well. But it's just another bachelor's there. And what I realized was I already had the fundamentals that they were trying to teach, because I already have a bachelor's in kinetics, or in movement patterns, and in muscle testing. So like I wanted to take it one step further. And when the teachers realized that I already had not the same, because everyone teaches it differently, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
but I had a different view of it. They were so smart, and I'm so thankful for the other people in my class that they did this. They started asking me of how I was taught, so they can get multiple uh, views of how to do something. It's like,
Sure.
hey, this is how we're going to stretch this muscle, for example. Oscar, would you mind coming up and also showing how you taught?
Hmm.
And I love that, because that's a really good educator, but that's not why I was there. I was there to learn, next level things, maybe. And it might have been also because I was only there for one semester. Maybe they were going to bring it up, but then I realized that I took so many master's classes in college that I could go straight into my doctorate in in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So I sucked up the student loan feeling
Yeah,
and decided to go back to school here instead. Plus my wife is here. So
sure.
yeah. So I'm at the
Yeah.
University of Minnesota, which is a phenomenal school. I think they're ranked top 10 in the country with physical therapy.
Hmm.
And I'm really enjoying it.
Nice. So, with wrapping this up somehow, the deep, like, yearning to always get better, to always improve, where does that come from, you think?
I haven't really given it a lot of thought. I I think it is from the feeling of getting better.
Mm-hmm.
It's the deep. I mean, so when I was working in the States, everyone was talking about growth mindset,
Mm-hmm.
and like, yeah, cool, whatever. But then when you start looking into growth mindset, there is something truly there. That, along with mindfulness, and yes, they're big words, but if you actually look at what it can do for you, I just love to grow.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be proven wrong if I am wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be granted that I'm right if I'm right. I want to build on knowledge. I want to build on abilities.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel so much better going to bed at night feeling like I actually got better at something. I don't even
Mm-hmm.
care what it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which, yeah, it's and it, a lot of a lot of people in my program right now are a couple years younger. I'm a little older now. I'm 28. I'm supposed to be 24 or 23 if I go into
Mm-hmm.
this program. So and they've noticed as well that like I'm excelling, and some of these people have a lot of anxiety, unfortunately, about staying in the program,
Mm-hmm.
and they're asking me like what's the difference, and they're they're there and they're doing a great job, but they're kind of wasting their time at the same time, because if you're already sitting in the chair, why are you going to have your phone next to you when you're watching a lecture?
Mm-hmm.
I I I don't understand how you need to be there. We're talking about physiology in the muscle cell and how actin and myosin are binding together, and how the sarcoplasmic reticulum is going to release calcium ions. And you have your phone there that it keeps lighting up from a text message, and you think you're still going to get what's on the slides.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like things that I've learned myself, that I don't trust myself with my addiction problems, because we're all addicted to our phones.
Sure.
And if I can see my phone, it's in my head,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
even if it's not lighting up. So my
Mm-hmm.
phone is always on do not disturb. The only thing that gets passed is calls,
Mm-hmm.
and it's in my backpack during class.
Mm-hmm.
I take it up during breaks because I'm still as addicted as everyone else. I need to catch up on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, but I make sure that when I don't want it to be a distraction, it is not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's a huge difference in how much you can absorb.
Yeah. Okay. So a few rapid fire questions to tie this all together. Um, what is your favorite meal?
Steak,
What type of steak?
ribeye.
Okay. Favorite music to work out to?
Not the super high energy music, because I'm
Oh.
at the gym for so long. I can't take a Vici for 3 hours. So I actually just put on a playlist and I listen to whatever's in on that playlist. Sometimes it's Mozart, sometimes it's Kygo, and sometimes it's everything in between.
Okay. Favorite movie?
Inception.
How come?
Twists, possibilities of future truth, the fact that we can maybe get to this one day. Um, yeah, and love Christopher Nolan.
Uh, how would
Yeah.
you spend your perfect day?
Hard workout first, sports with friends, and then barbecue in the backyard.
Okay. If you can teach something and everyone will learn this, what would you teach them?
Social media is not the answer. Real connection is.
Mm. Please elaborate shortly on that. What does that mean to you?
I I feel like we're losing so much through our screens,
Mm.
and I am too. Like I'm in it with everyone else. So it's not that I'm above anyone by saying that I don't. I try not to use my phone because I still get stuck on the social media because it's so captivating. But I truly feel worse after, which is what the evidence says as well. And if we could just put our phones away, maybe even permanently, we would be so much better off. We don't have to be in constant contact with people we can't see.
Mm-hmm.
We can create connections with the people that we do see, and through that live a way more rewarding life, I
Sure.
believe. And my belief is stemmed by science, definitely. It's not just an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It's also statistics. It's also quantified.
If you could, or what is the change that you plan or would like to make in this world? How would you like to inspire people in this world?
So what I want to do my research in is neuroplasticity with the microdosing of psychedelics compared to physical therapy in
Mm.
people with chronic pain. That's how I want to change this world. I want to take people that have pain while moving, and I want to show them that here's other people that are going through the same thing, and it's going to be okay. I don't want you to not move because it hurts to move, because that's only going to make it worse.
So I'll have to follow up on this because this is on the bleeding edge of human self work and potential and growth. What have you learned so far? There are multiple different universities. John Hopkins is one of them that does this research, but it's in the now here, on the bleeding edge of like this is the latest way of doing it. What have you learned?
So we know that neuroplasticity, neuroplasticity is your brain changes how it sends how the pathways in the brain's neurons work. And we know that microdosing psychedelics helps you connect new pathways.
Mm-hmm.
We also know that depression and anxiety are pathways in the brain that just like to send signals. If the neuron fires in a certain way, it gets better at firing at that way. If that loop ends up being depressive,
Mm-hmm.
it will become better at sending depressive thoughts.
Sure.
But getting that external unfortunate drug, but it's not the way we usually see drugs, but getting a controlled substance in there will help you break up those pathways and send new signals to trying to get rid of that. We also know that everything in our brain is pathways. We know that chronic pain stems from the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where no one has looked into yet. And that's what I do want to look into the fact that I want to change the construction of your pathways so that you don't feel pain, because there is no connection between arthritis and pain. There is no connection between herniated discs in the back and pain. If you show physicians, they did a study where they put x-rays on people's knees, and the physician had to guess which knee they were coming in to see them for. They did worse than chance. Worse, not even at 50%. Sometimes the knee that looked awful was the one they were coming in for. Sometimes the knee that was looking great was the one they were looking for, and they always had chronic pain. So who are we to say that it's structure that makes the pain? It's in the brain. And I want to alleviate people, because after I started reading this myself, I have 3 meniscus tears. I've had 4 herniated discs in my back, and I promise you I still have them because I work out so much. Athletes always have herniated discs. I have no labrum in my left shoulder and a partial labor tear in my right shoulder. I have neck problems. So not neck problems. I've had neck herniated discs. I've had a Lisfranc injury on my right foot. I've torn both my ligaments in my ankles, and I've also have a tightrope procedure done on my right ankle. And I have no pain, and I'm moving better than I ever have. So if I can do it without, just from growth mindset, and I understand that growth mindset is very hard to get to. I mean, it didn't come overnight.
Sure.
It was really hard work for a really long period of time, and there were multiple times when I took steps back. But if I can teach one person to go through that same transformation, because I was limping everywhere during my senior year of college. I was in so much pain, but now I'm completely freed of it.
Wow. Ooh, this is a podcast on its own. I mean, thank you, Jesus. This has been it's been impactful, and thank you for sharing everything about your life, athletically focused specifically, and who you are, and just putting it all out there. So thank you, Oscar.
Thank you. Yeah, it was very nice to be here. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed it.
Oscar is an incredibly humble person, very competitive. You can feel the edge that he has, while in the same time being humble enough to always keep on questioning not even his own opinion, but other opinions as well, and having that beginner mindset of always learning, and that growth mindset. Not to forget about that, the most important thing, not having any pain after having all those different injuries. I mean, phenomenal. I surely would like to learn that in the same way as he has as well. Thank you for tuning into this episode. And if you haven't done so, check out the training programs that we have. Gymnastics, we have a mindset program as well as a modern athlete program. And that's a combination of Olympic weightlifting, strength, gymnastics, and mindset. So enjoy, and until next time. And if you haven't done so, please leave a review. Do a good deed of the day. 5 stars takes you 30 seconds, and it helps us spread this message. So thank you for being part of this show, this movement, and sending you much love.